Thank you very much. I appreciate the ASPE for allowing us to present our research today. It's great because, you know, now I can give my talk for 50 minutes and then I'll do it in Irish for 15 minutes. But I don't know Gaelic very well, so. Anyhow, let's see if this is working. There we go. Yeah, so I do want to recognize there's a part of this research that King Zhao Yu and Lin Zhu did in terms of the statistical part. And so I wanted to include them on the title. So I'm going to talk about streamlining surgical team assessment. And it's about a refinement of a technique, of a teamwork assessment tool we've created. And we'll go through all that. These are my disclosures and funding and for the group. This work was supported through a Southern Group for Educational Affairs grant from the AAMC. And it's a medical education, scholarship, research, and evaluation MESRE grant. My other disclosures you can see there. One, I guess I should mention is I am an associate editor for BMJ Stell. So if you want to talk about that, I'm more than happy to. So this talk, what are we going to talk about? We're going to focus on discussing the current status of teamwork in the OR today. Then we're also going to talk a little bit about describing the multi-phase approach we use to try to refine our teamwork assessment scale that we call the QTAS, Quick Teamwork Assessment Scale, and then how we developed it based on our results, and then the next phases. So let's talk a little bit about background. So first, you know, what about teamwork? Teamwork in the operating room, what is it? It's like this. This is the problem, actually. What do you guys think the problem is? What's the problem? Nobody thinks there is a problem. Yes, that's true. What else do you notice here? Everybody's, well, they're actually sitting still, but these are sea turtles in Hawaii, but they're all kind of by themselves, right? So that's one of our big problems in the operating room is the whole silo mentality. This idea that everybody's in their own silo, they're working for themselves, they're not really, as Salas has said, it's a, instead of a team of experts, you have instead of an expert team, you have a team of experts. And that's what you don't want. So this is the other problem. What's the other problem here in the OR? Tribalism. This idea, once you have all those silos, everybody kind of has their own little tribes. You know, I'm guilty of it too. We have the, you know, who's a anesthetist here? Anybody? Oh, good. You know, you have the anesthetist jokes, looking at their stocks, all that sort of stuff. And they have their jokes about us and that sort of thing. But that's just this form of tribalism that we get. And then the last thing we have is this hierarchy, this idea of, you know, my way or the highway. I'm the captain of the ship. I'm the surgeon. I know the right way. You know, everybody be quiet. And that causes problems in the OR. By the way, all these pictures are from, these pictures are from Mardi Gras. So you can see that it's quite an unusual event. They have all these hierarchies and crews and that sort of stuff. So the question is, so what? Who cares? Who cares if there's a problem? Well, the problem is this becomes the problem. So you get a tangled web of problems. You have misperceptions. You have problems with role confusion. And then you get an explosive mix of tension, yelling, conflict, all these sort of things. And what does that do for teamwork? It's poison. Destroys teamwork in the operating room. You can't work together because you have all these conflicts and tensions and that sort of thing. So what's the solution? How do you solve this? How do you fix this problem? Team training. And then we use simulation-based team training at our institution. Any type of team training will work, but if you work together and you teach people how highly reliable teams operate and what they do, that's going to help solve the problems. What are the benefits of team training? Does the literature show anything? Well, actually it does. There was a systematic review of teamwork that showed, and this was interprofessional teams, interprofessional education, that showed basically that people do learn. That's a level 2. I guess it would be a T1 from last talk, but this is level 2 from Kirkpatrick's scale. What we've done at LSU, we've done these interprofessional student-based team training and OR team training, And we've shown basically in the in situ OR team training, we showed level 2 learning, that is, people learn behaviors, they learn about teamwork. We had this student OR team training session that we had developed with all students, and again, they learned. And we did it on a clerkship level with third-year medical students and senior undergraduate graduate nursing students, and we had a little bit of what I would consider level 3, which would be, I guess, more T2 evidence, where behavioral change was seen among the students over the course of a year. And finally, we did some trauma transfers. We were intrigued about, could you move from one room to the next with the simulator and do all this exciting progressive sim? And we also showed that people learn from that. They learn from it, they improve their behaviors, they get better. So what do you need? What's the need? What's the need if you're going to do team training, if you're going to try to improve people's performances? What do you think? Anyone? Engagement, that's one, right? What else? You need the team, that's right, absolutely. You also need this, right? You need accurate measures. How many people have seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Okay, the Knights in E. You know, how can I say it if I don't know what it is? How can you measure it if you don't know? You don't have a measure, right? You need accurate measures. Otherwise, this happens. You get this. You get the blind leading the blind. So you don't know if you're improving because you don't know. You don't have a measure to improve it. You don't have an accurate measure to show you that that happens. Now, the problem in the OR with surgeons. How many? Do we have any surgeons here besides myself? Is this. They're not every measure is the same, right? They're not all the same. You can measure different things in different ways. And in addition, they take time. They take too much time, especially in the OR. If you're going to ask people to fill out forms or try to do debriefing with these things, if it takes more than like 3 minutes, you're done. It's not going to work. Even that, 2 minutes. And this is an example. This was our teamwork assessment scales, which we thought this had been bigger. We condensed it. We were all proud of ourselves. We had, five team-based behaviors. This was one of the subscales, and you can see it's a 6-point Likert type scale. But you rate every person. It's like 360, right? So you rate yourself and you rate all your teammates, right? So all of a sudden, 6 turns into what? Turns into 30. And then we had an overall teamwork component that had subscales, and the subscales basically involved a shared mental model, we called it, and adaptive communication response. This was a little bit better. It was 6 items. Again, the 6-point Likert type scale. And our question was, okay, so can we refine the TAS into a more condensed, kind of easy-to-use instrument? And so we used a 3-phase methodology. And that was, we had the starting point with the TAS, and this had been developed in 2007. And then we did a factorial analysis. We had a lot of literature, or not a lot of literature, a lot of data on prior use with students and teams, and we've been using this for a while. So we were going to do a factor analysis on that and see which items were the best. And then we were going to do a comprehensive literature review to see what's out there in terms of OR teamwork scales since the TAS was created. And we did some focus group interviews with personnel in the OR. And then we were going to combine all that. And I'll show you this now in the methods here. So first, the factor analysis. What do we do for the factor analysis? Well, the first part of the factor analysis is we used our data sample was from our HRSA grant, which was a team training of interprofessional students, it was called. And it was a sample of students. We did 2 years worth of training, basically, of interprofessional teams and students. And I'll give you the numbers in a minute. Our statistical analysis for the factor analysis, we looked at correlations between each question in the subscales, and we only used data from our 2015. That was half a year that we had done this for the grant. And then we did some univariate linear regression and looked for the R2 and, from this data to see which questions kind of had the best correlation of all of them. And then what we did is we did t-tests to make sure this was accurate. We compared the question to the total other questions. So the comprehensive literature review, what do? We targeted surgical teamwork assessment tools. I told you about that. We used, we wanted to use it, these tools had to be used for evaluation of performance or assistance with debriefing, because that's kind of our goal. We went through PubMed. We used mesh headings. You can see the terms there that we use for our mesh headings. And then we selected articles, and we had analysis and took articles out if they didn't satisfy the means. So for the focus groups, we had interprofessional OR teams. We did basically a transcription of focused questions. And then we took all this together, put it all in a sieve, and we created our Q-test. So here are our results. So here's the factor analysis. You can see we had 660 team-based behavior data points, 130 of the others. And we did the R2, and what we found was this. So from the linear regression, these questions, these were the questions on the original task, were the ones that correlated the highest. And when we did that t-test we talked about, they were all of them were statistically significant. So they measured the same way as our scale did, our subscales did. For the literature review, we went from basically 119 articles down to 24 articles that had 10 tools. And these are the tools that we used. And what we did is we looked and we found key kin constructs within each of these tools because they had different names and different things. And you can see that there are certain ones that came out amongst them all. One was teamwork, communication, etc. And these are frequency counts within the tools. For the focus groups, we did it at our main hospital's 446 beds. It was a convenience sample. You can see the composition of the teams. What we got is after 3 focus groups with the various combinations, we had saturation, and we found that these were the 4 kind of main themes: smooth flow in the OR, united effort, communication, having a positive attitude. So let's put this all together. How do we make this into the Q-task? What we did is we decreased the team-based behavior into 2, and we tried to combine various components of the other ones into that. So that shrunk it a little bit. And then we decreased our shared mental model into 1, and our adaptive communication response into another 2 questions. So what are our conclusions? Way to go, right? You shrunk it. Woo! So what's the verdict? So we feel that surgical teamwork assessment tools in the literature, they have, one thing we were happy about, we found these 6 kin constructs. There are certain things that are common throughout all the tools. And we find that OR personnel really want these things. They want smooth flow, united effort, good communication, and positive attitude. So what are our next steps? What are our next steps? Well, one, we've shown that we could refine this tool. We have we have 2 items, 2 subscales, and 1 item in another subscale. So it's a 5-item tool for now. And then what we really want to do is we want to try to validate it for various populations. We want to try to see if we can use it as a debriefing tool in the OR. So you do your case, answer these questions really quickly, or use that as a guide for your OR debriefing. So thank you very much. Come on down to New Orleans. You're more than welcome. If you come during the last weekend in April or the first weekend in May, it's Jazz Fest. It's a lot of fun. You'll have a great time, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.